you're still a little bit in work mode because you have the championship photo of Joey Logano. Well, one of the million championship photos of Joey Logano from this past weekend. And I've gone into full off season because behind me is the sunset from a couple of nights ago. So does this mean you're really working harder than I am right now?
No, we'll take this as Caitlin celebrating the fact that the 2022 season's done. As much as I love racing, I am very glad that we can finally put a pin, or not even a pin, close the book on 2022, as we shall say.
Well, it's the competition that has closed up in terms of NASCAR for 22, but there's lots of stuff that's going on in the background. There will be lots of things that continue to go on in the background for the next little while. And I find that everybody kind of slows down and relaxes, kind of, if you can or want to grab a little vacation time now, and then you get into the holidays pretty quickly. But as soon as we get to January, and everybody's finished with the new year and trying to remember to write 23 instead of 22. It's okay. What are we doing? What's happening? And it kicks on pretty quickly.
2023 started for me about a week after Delaware. There was a couple, you get through all the championship stuff, and then there's a couple things you're working on, like the bigger projects celebrating 2022. But then all the discussions turn, you do your postmortems and all that, and then it's okay, so 2023.
Yeah, and I guess it's just what I mean by after the first of the year, it's kind of there's a few more phone calls and texts among teams, friends, family, and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of lump that all in together because it all goes together. But I think that the frequency of contact picks up maybe after the first of the year.
Yeah, that is a good point. It's like no one really wants to talk about 2023 right now. It's like everybody's like, okay, we need to fix the cars. We need to
No. Everybody wants to talk about 2023 because you said there's postmortems that take place after the season, and rightfully so. Everybody's looking at how they can improve things, how they can make their operation better if they're teams, where they can find more performance. Everybody's looking to confirm and maybe grow and expand partnerships for next year. That's all going to take place. And hey, we'd like a schedule for the Pinty series to come out, and hopefully that'll be coming out pretty soon.
You're not looking at me for that, are you?
I know you don't make the schedule, because if you did, it would already be out, because you're like that. This is why I love you, and you and I get along so well, is that we understand that there should be structure and order, and we like to do things in kind of a certain way, and it's very similar. So I think that's where. So if you solely were in charge of the schedule, it would be out already.
I mean, I feel like the reason it's not out already is because it wasn't done, and
Fair.
Now it's maybe a little bit closer to being done. So you can't put a schedule out when it's not done.
No,
but it's like once it's done and you have all the sanctions done, it's like
right,
put it out.
And that takes time. Everybody gets impatient about it, but that does take time.
Yeah.
From what I have heard, and I won't put you on the spot, but you can feel free to chime in as you like.
I cannot say anything because I
officially or unofficially.
Officially
okay, that's
or
fine.
Unofficially.
What I would expect for next year is a similar schedule to this year. So 23 will look similar to 2022. There may be an additional race, possibly two. There may be a new venue. I'll say possibly two. I don't think there will be. And that's why I think next year will be very similar to this year in terms of what the actual schedule is. Some things we know for sure are going to happen. GP3R is going to happen next year. CTMP is going to happen on its regular weekends. Newfoundland is scheduled to happen again next year. So there's a few things that we know are going to happen. Oshweekend is going to happen, the dirt race next year. We're still trying to figure out the date, but that's going to happen next. So there are some things we know, and that's why the schedule hasn't been released yet, is because not everything is confirmed 100%. But if we have a good schedule next year like this year, I think everybody should be pretty happy.
Yeah, the schedule this year was amazing. We went back coast to coast, especially after 2 years of having a pandemic schedule and only racing in Ontario and Quebec. It's like the fact that we not only went back out west, but went back out east and onto an island It's like 2022 is a pretty good season. And I think it's one of those things where, you know, pending another global pandemic or even a national pandemic, there's really nowhere to go but up with it.
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen. There's no pandemic coming next year, and
nobody thought that in 2019 either.
No. Very different circumstances now than then. I don't know how many jabs you've had, but I think I just had my 4th one. So I think
I'm still on 3, I think but everybody's twice.
Pretty well, covered through that. So I don't think we have to worry about that. So yes, we're excited and looking forward to 23 as things come out and well, we should say too that Daniel Bois, that sneaky son of a gun, just sort of slipped out. Oh, we're doing 6 races next year for MDS Motorsports, which is great. Yeah. They were wanting to expand their schedule. Good for them. Andrew Ranger's in for next year. Marc-Antoine Cameron is in for next year. There haven't been announcements yet, but those things are going to happen next year. And you can say that there will be a significant field, I think, for all events next year, which is, again, something that we're looking forward to and excited about. We had great fields this year.
Yeah.
I think they will at worst be comparable next year. Yeah. And I think that's a very positive sign moving forward.
Yeah. And especially going out east, going out west, having the dirt race. It's like you'll have those the local guys back. It's like you can rely on, the Sarah Thorns, the Brandon McFarlands, the Jamie Krizik's, Aaron Turkeys, the ones that, do the 1-offs or 2-offs, depending on how many there are of each swing.
Right.
And, you'll definitely have those in the field. And, it would be great to see, Jamie Krizik come out and Chantel Kalika come out and do another Ontario race.
Oh, absolutely.
They did that in 2019. So it's like, it's nice to see those guys actually come out and do some Ontario and Quebec races. But, again, I feel like after the season, there's just nowhere to go but up. That's kind of how I'm just feeling about everything.
I think that's a really positive sign. That kind of optimism, that kind of excitement, I think is really good. And I think generally speaking, everyone feels that way. Sure, everybody's going to have an issue. I'd like this to be a little different. I'd like more of this, less of that, or something.
Why are you having this on that date?
Right. And that goes to, you're never going to make 100% of the people 100% of the 100% happy 100% of the time. So you do your best to give the most to all stakeholders, and everybody comes out in the end. So I think those are good things. But I think, generally speaking, we're looking forward to next year. Now that competition is done for this year on the NASCAR stretch, at least, should we go back and look at maybe a couple of the final weeks? Because there was a lot of shit that happened in NASCAR over the last few weeks.
Well, last month of NASCAR.
You decide where you want to start that discussion, but there's a lot of stuff.
The amount of people that reached out to me that don't follow racing, but reached out to me. Reached out to me. Telling me about Ross Chastain's move at Martinsville. Like, did you see this? You think of all people that haven't seen this, I was one of them. Of course I saw this.
It was
insane.
It was remarkable. And I don't know how many times you had to watch it before it really sunk in, but it was kind of, what just happened here?
Yeah.
What am I seeing this right? And I needed to watch it a few times, and it was just
from a few different angles,
and the in-car was sensational. And there's a lot of stuff to digest about that. First of all, major points for originality and having the thought to do it. Well, yeah, but it's just, and I think that says a lot about racers, that they're there to win at all cost. And Ross Chastain talked a bit about that. So, I didn't care what happened. I don't, hope it didn't, wreck us. But I was there to win. And there was no other way. I didn't know if this was going to work, but there was no other way it was going to happen. So you try it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and I was talking to a friend, I can't remember who it was. I was talking to somebody that was like, oh, if he hadn't done it, and 2 hours later, Denny or Brad Guzowski got eliminated, so he would have gotten in anyway. And it's like, no, there was no way they were going to take that spot away from Denny Hamlin, because Denny Hamlin won that spot fair and square in the championship four, if that were the case. So from Ross Chastain's perspective, no matter what, he either was going home not in the championship 4, or going home with a wrecked car not in the championship 4, or balls to the wall.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're calling it. Some people have called it the hail melon, or the melon to the wall, or something like that. But
well, it was original, and there were a few great memes that came out in the days afterwards. So those were awesome, with the rollers on the wall and on the side of the car. Those were really good. I mean, but again, that gets people talking. That kind of, it's, no one's ever done this. No one's ever seen this before, and it's good. Now, I don't think it's going to be allowed in the future. I figured there would be, if you allowed this. No, I think from a safety standpoint, I'm not sure you can, because each track is a bit different.
Right.
Some have access gates at different points on the track. And he mentioned that he was worried about the one in corner 4 at Martinsville. That could cause a real problem, because there have been some horrible wrecks where cars catch the wall at an access gate or something like that out of a weird set of circumstances. So I think it will be, if it's not, I don't know that there's going to be a decree that this kind of move is outlawed, but I think it will be written into the rules that, you don't want to be doing that, because there will be a judgment of if it's deemed to be a reckless move, or a move that could impact the safety of others, it will be disallowed. I think that's the way to maybe look at it.
Yeah, because it's like, if you were to try a move like that at like Daytona, it's like,
well, yeah,
I don't know if
different
anyone
set of
would,
circumstances,
but
because of the throttle limitations of plates and stuff. But again, I think that's why I think it's different at every track, and I just, that kind of, it's a safety issue that you need to look at in terms of whether or not you allow people to hammer on the throttle and go wide friggin' open all the way around.
Yeah, it sucks, because it's like, it would suck to see them limit that, because every executive in NASCAR has been like, that is our sport, that is the epitome of what we want to be, and the creativity and the originality we want to have as NASCAR and as the sport and in the industry. So to take that away and limit that is kind of sad, but it's like, you are right, like, safety always does come first. So I think they'd have to, test it out a little bit and see, what, like, where it does get really dangerous, and is Martinsville really the only place you can do it at? Like, my friend and I were talking about it during the championship race, of where else could you do that at? Richmond, maybe? Like, there's maybe only like a handful of tracks in all of racing, or all of like NASCAR, that you could do that at. Could
we'll
you
see
do
what
it at
happens.
Pinty's?
Yes, you could, but again, it's going to depend on which track, where it might work. Is it going to be a safety thing in terms of how the walls are with the access? And remember, the Pinty series runs fiberglass bodies as opposed to carbon fiber. So bit of a different friction level as you're riding the concrete.
I was also just thinking, I wonder if it'll be a thing where it's like, in every single like crew chief handout, they put it in every single race. It's like, this move is not allowed. This move is not allowed. Martinsville, and maybe you can do it here.
Maybe that's the way to address it from a safety standpoint, because that's my only reservation with it is the safety thing. But I love the originality and creativity with it, and bring on more of that. I think that's a positive thing in all forms of racing. You want to do something different than everybody else. That's why people use different strategy. It's like, well, everybody does this and we're not going to win that way, so we got to try something else and do something different. I like that. Yeah,
it really. And I mean, for Trackhouse Racing to have a season like that, it's like, and to be the forefront and the spotlight of that kind of move, it just speaks volumes to their organization going forward. Way more chatter about that race and how it went than how the race itself went. At Phoenix in the finale. I mean, it was Joey Logano had the best car, and he wasn't going to lose. And we were watching my friend and I were watching the last like 30 laps, and it's like, oh, Chastain's gaining. Oh, and he's backed off. Oh, he's gaining, and he's backed off. And it's like, his car was just so goddamn dominant. And it was so good that it's like, I think it was like halfway through the race. I'm like, unless he like blows a tire or something, he's got it. It's like
not gonna.
It's like it would have to be like extreme circumstances for him to not win this race.
And that's the way racing goes sometimes. You
Yeah.
don't always have the door-to-door, two cars crossing the finish line within a thousandth or 2/1000ths of a second of one another. Sometimes somebody has the dominant car and they're just gonna skate away from everybody else. That's the way it goes. That's part of the intrigue too, is that, you know what, is somebody gonna mop up this week, or nope, it's gonna be close. That's the way it goes. And
yeah. And it sucks when that's the championship race, because everybody's sitting there and they're like, oh, this person just was good this week because of the way the playoff structure is formatted.
No, that's, to be in that position, you have to have been good a lot more than just that week. And I think that's
100%,
incorrect by people that suggest that sort of thing.
No, 100%. And by the way, that wasn't my opinion. I think Joey Logano definitely deserved to win that championship, but to dominate the finale like that and have very little friction within the championship 4 is like, it kind of sucks for that.
It's a little
to be the
disappointing.
Race.
Yeah, sure. You want a dramatic finish, but there isn't always that. And that's the part that not everybody really understands. So.
Yeah, and that's a conversation we were having at the end of the Pinty season too, of like, oh, Cameron got his 12 points back from the penalty. Now they're really he would have to wreck out at CTMP for him not to.
Well, yeah, he got his
Delaware.
He appealed his penalty, got his points back, and then he won at CTMP, which meant that it was almost impossible for anyone else to overtake him in the championship. And that's what I mean. You don't always get the big finish. So let's talk about the other end of the NASCAR criticisms too. And a lot of it directed at Ty Gibbs for his move. And he, after a little time, thought, discussion, probably a bunch of conversations, admitted that, you know what, I shouldn't have done it and I was wrong. Okay, mea culpa. You're a young guy learning, and sometimes really you earn very hard lessons.
Yeah.
I cannot still fathom the emotions that he and the Gibbs family went through in such a short period of time of his winning the Xfinity Championship and then hours later having his father pass away. That is absolutely heartbreaking.
I was speechless about it then, and I'm speechless about it now, because it's just like, what are the odds? And it's like, I can't even like begin to imagine. Oh, it's just like absolutely
gut-wrenching for everyone.
And it was like, and I didn't know a lot. I didn't really follow Xfinity this year, so like I did know about like all the stuff in Martinsville with Ty and stuff. And I was like, when it first came out that, and it was rumored that Coy had died, I was like, was he sick already? Like, what was going on? But then through like, it all coming out and people talking about it on Twitter, it was like, no, this was very sudden. Like he was here last night celebrating with Ty, happy and like celebrating. And it's like, this wasn't a man that was sick or had any pre-existing health conditions that we at least knew of. But even the people that like saw him and interacted with him at the garage that last weekend and the weekend before, no one saw it coming. And it's just unbelievable, heart-wrenching. And I can't imagine as a 19-year-old winning the thing you have fought for the last few years, and getting booed in victory lane and having all these emotions of that, and then waking up and your dad's gone
and having it all irrelevant in a matter of hours after you've culminated and won the championship. Our heart goes out to him. It
does. And one other thing I want to touch on is people are disgusting. The amount of comments on social media that were just like,
and I have, I'm kind of developing a love-hate relationship with social media. And there are times that it's fun, that I enjoy it. In fact, I got a a tweet forwarded to me from my sister this morning at 5:00 this morning, because she happened to be up, and I got it a little while later because I happened to be up too. And it's, guess what? At an airport in Florida, a man tried to smuggle a gun onto a flight,
Yeah, that's
stuffed
Florida.
in the cavity of a raw chicken. That's the fun stuff about
What?
social media. I know, it's just, Florida man. It's a weird hashtag Florida man. Honest to goodness, go search it. It's the funniest thing you'll ever see. It's absolutely hilarious. But at the same time, people use it as their own personal bully pulpit, and it's gross and obscene. And it's just, that's why I will go long stretches without posting anything, or even looking at whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, doesn't really matter. It's just kind of, you know what, I need a little break.
It's very interesting. So it's like within the last year, and like insight into Caitlin's life, within the last year, I've done a lot to be like, to kind of settle and to be really happy with my life and like really confident with myself and what I want to do. And since kind of going through that journey, the instinct and like need to post on social media has kind of faded away. And it's like, 2019 pre-pandemic, even like the beginning of the pandemic, it was like, why am I posting on social media? It's like, because I want to share with people, because I want people to like post, to know what I'm doing. And like, I want like this person to like see specific person to see what I'm doing, and blah, blah, blah. And now it's just like, I'm only sharing things that I want to share or are cool. And it's like, and I'm not even doing it for anybody. I'm doing it for me, or
that's
because
the right
I want to
reason.
remember it.
That's the right reason. It's just, you know what? Here's something, I find it interesting or funny or thought-provoking, and I think maybe you do too. I think that's the right motivation. Or you want to, see something that you like or disagree with, and then offer an opinion. That's one thing I've always maintained, is that I will, if I disagree with something, I'll say so, and I'll say why. But this back and forth that just goes on and on, I refuse to engage. It's just, I want no part. If you want to have a discussion about it, and I'm not going to have it and attempt to do it in 140 characters or whatever. I'm happy to engage that way. But this back and forth on social media, no thanks. I'm shutting down.
Yeah. And it's interesting for me too, because my entire life is social media and having to analyze trends and come up with content ideas and all this stuff, when you personally don't have a desire to do any of that anymore and like care about any of it. So it's
I'll
kind
disagree
of
with you slightly.
Okay.
That's your job. It's not your entire life.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it is that.
Oh, it plays a huge role in your your day-to-day life. Absolutely. Yeah, no question.
It's like, oh, I'm distracted a little bit. Oh, I don't want to, I can't scroll on mine. So I'll scroll on the NASCAR pin team feed.
Yeah, I can see that.
Can I say another thing about the championship confetti?
Yeah.
I love that it's like, I just love Phoenix Raceway's color scheme. It's so nice. Yeah.
The Southwest kind of look and feel. Yeah.
And I actually just got my Kyle Larson 124 die cast from his championship last year. And it's covered in the confetti.
Nice.
I'm like, this looks really pretty. This looks cool.
It looks great in photos. It looks great on TV when you have this explosion of confetti as part of a victory celebration. You and I have had the fun privilege of being in the midst of those. Yeah. And when cannons like that, and that's basically what they are, is that they dump a giant garbage bag full of confetti into this air blower cannon and it fires it out. It looks great, but you don't want to be standing too close to it. Otherwise, it's like shrapnel.
I think I said this the last podcast episode. The one that Joel shot off at Delaware, the first one in Brandon Watson's victory lane, was almost a projectile.
Yes.
It was just a ball that went like straight towards somebody. But I'll actually say for Joey Logano's championship celebration, I thought it was too much, especially on TV, because it was just like, it would go off in like the first like not even 20 seconds, like 10 5-10 seconds of it, it was like, oh, this is cool. And then it was just like a blizzard of it. Like you couldn't see Joey anymore. And it's like, okay, as a photographer, it's like you're standing there like, okay, I have to wait until like you're just continuously shooting. But it's like, well, I know I can crop out like 100 photos right in the middle because I'm not going to see anything.
But these are the difficulties that you have going through that. But yeah, that's a good thing.
There is an art to confetti.
It is, but it looks great. And you know what? It's fun. It's a great celebration, and it should be a big deal. The other big deal that sort of snuck up out of nowhere in NASCAR. Oh, Jimmy Johnson's going to be a part owner of Petty GMS Racing, and he's going to come back and run a few races, starting with the Daytona 500. Are you going to Daytona now?
I guess I'm going to Daytona this year or next year. I was like, we were talking about Daytona in one of my meetings this week, and I'm like,
okay, I can go.
I'm available. I have I always have the week blocked off.
There you go. See? Prepare in advance. Good for you. Yeah, I think that's a really good thing for the sport. I think that's good. You know, he retired from driving, stepped away, and I'll fart around doing some other stuff, and so he leaves himself the opportunity to still do some sports car racing. He wants to do the 24 hours of Le Mans. Great, good for him. Cool. I think and I can see him I think he'll be able to find a seat to do that. So.
So do we think Hendrick Motorsports will give him the 48 back? Probably not.
I don't think so.
No.
And I don't think it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
No. Michael Jordan wore more than one number in the NBA. I don't think it's necessary. That was cool, then, but this is now. But the 24, 48, those numbers are associated with Hendrick, and I don't know that he would. I think Mr. Hendrick would have a conversation about it if Jimmy said, "Hey, can we talk about it?" But I don't think it's necessary.
No, that's a good point. I don't think he would even get the 43 because it'd be a full-time charter, wouldn't it be?
Right. Yeah. So, and he's only going to drive a partial schedule, so I don't think it really matters. The other thing is that, hey, new number, all the new merchandise and stuff that's going to be able to come out that you can design. I think that's okay.
Bye-bye wallet, bye-bye money.
There's another money in the world. Yeah, I know. There's another thing I wanted to mention, and here's the shameless plug part. I'm working on a show for Rev TV, my Rev Culture program, and I'm interviewing a bunch of different series champions. And they're all championship winners, and that's gonna be a show that's coming out in a few weeks. One of those that I interviewed was Valerie Limoges, who won the Nissan Sentra Cup this past year. Tremendous accomplishment, first female racer to win a national championship in such a manner.
Really?
Check out, yes, as a solo driver. Natalie Richard was part of a team. Check out the photo that Caitlin's going to pop up here right now.
With editing magic.
This is, I think, a tremendous photo and a tremendous opportunity for women in motorsports. It's Valerie on the top step in one hand, and I asked her about it, holding her trophy up in her right hand and holding her baby daughter in her left arm. You know what? You can do it all. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
So fucking cool to see that.
Isn't that something?
It's like there's so much talk about women in any sport just not being to the height of their male competitors. And then there's even more talk about after women have children, how they're not going to be the same. They're not going to come back and be dominant. That is proof that that's a load of bullshit.
I think I think that photo is a great opportunity for so many, and so motivational, inspirational. I just think that's why I wanted to share it with you. I just think it's really, really cool.
As a woman that has, dealt with that bullshit and heard that her entire life, I see that photo and I go, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just so cool.
Yeah, I think it's good. And I think it another step in the right direction. Hopefully it bodes well for the future.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what we didn't talk about on the last podcast, I believe, and we were going to talk about it, and I just thought of it now because I've been doing stuff, is moving.
Oh, yes.
Because you moved not that long ago,
I thought
and
we did talk about this on the last podcast.
I don't think we talked about moving. No.
Oh, no?
You and I talked about it, but we didn't talk. But it's such a weird experience to pack your whole life into a bunch of boxes and then transport it to another location. But it's also fun too, because I've done this over the last little while, because I had stuff in storage and brought it out, and you go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's because you don't see it every day, and it's not in front of you all the time. You think, oh yeah, and it brings you this little bit of joy, and it's really cool.
It's also detrimental to me with my ADHD brain, because I'll be packing and I'll be like, and I'll be like, oh cool, my high school yearbooks. Let's look at these for the next 3 hours. Or, oh cool, a box of like random shit I gathered from college. Looking at that for the next 2 hours, and it's just like, it's detrimental, and it takes twice as long to pack because of that, because I'm just like, oh yeah, like going through reading all of like the notes in my high school yearbooks and like looking at like all my little childhood mementos and stuff like that. It takes forever.
No, that's why you need to cull. Like as you're packing to move, it's just like, nope, don't need it. Just cut right down to the absolute bare minimum. I know, it goes such a long way. That's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah. Do you have any food?
Oh, I do have one food mention, because I didn't mention this before, and I should have. I went to a place in Oakville for my birthday, so it was a little while ago. And it was like, okay, so it's like, okay, I'm bringing the family, and it was my birthday, so I paid. It's just, I did it absolutely backwards because I wanted to. That's what I wanted to do for my birthday.
That's kind of cool.
I thought so. It was different. So the place we went to is called Racin. It's in Oakville. It's an Italian restaurant. I don't know about you, but I love pasta. Yep. So I can eat pasta. I could eat chicken almost every day.
Yep.
Because there's so many ways to prepare it. It's so it's
very versatile.
So when they have really good chicken parm with a little pasta, it's like, oh yeah, this is just absolute heaven. And the creme brulee was awesome too. And I don't normally eat like a big, but yeah, creme brulee was awesome. So there's my food reco for this week. It's called Verace. Really nice little place in Oakville. Really good.
Next time I'm in Oakville, I'll definitely make sure to check that out. My birthday was just this past weekend, so I went to a bunch of different places. We went to an Italian restaurant actually in the Eaton Center. It's I'm not even gonna attempt to announce it. It's like one of the chains in Toronto. It's like one of the Mercato chains. It was actually really, really good.
Nice.
I just got a carbonara because I feel like very consistent. But they also had really good desserts on there as well. Went to Korean barbecue Monday night. Very nice. Always a fun.
Trattoria Mercato, is that the one?
I believe so, yeah.
I just Googled, yeah.
There you go. I wasn't going to attempt, without it in front of me, I was like, I'm not going to be able to remember how to pronounce it. But then this Friday, I'm doing a cocktail class with my best friend. Yes, I'm very excited about it. And we're going to go to this place. We've been before, which is why I'm saying it. So I know it's good.
Yeah.
It's called Miss Things on Queen Street in Toronto. And it's a Hawaiian place.
Oh, so wow.
It's like very like kind of tropical vibes, like pineapples everywhere, all that stuff. But it's like modern aesthetics. But I went there in like 2019 for actually the friend I'm going with's birthday. And it was great, like amazing pork ribs, really good. Just like all the bowls were like amazing. The drinks were insane.
Beautiful.
So if you're ever in Toronto and you want especially as we're getting a little bit colder here, Todd wouldn't know because he's in Florida dealing with hurricanes.
Waiting for the next hurricane. Yeah. So
we're dealing with cold weather.
This one is not going to be bad. It's cloudy and gray, and I'm on the opposite coast from where it's going to hit. So it's expected to just be a tropical storm by the time it gets here. But the Hurricane Ian is absolutely devastating. And you see the photos, you see the videos and stuff, but when you drive down the street and you see piles of debris, And there's one spot that I drove by that is, I don't know, a lot of about an acre or two, and the debris is piled 3 stories high.
Oh my
It's
God.
absolutely unbelievable. I mean, boats piled on top of boats because they were thrown out of the water. And it's absolutely unbelievable. So, but the resiliency of people has also been inspiring to see down here too. So good on you.
Has this hurricane season seemed to be worse than ones in past, or has it been kind of on par?
Well, in terms of quantity, there were not a lot of storms through most of the season, but when they hit you head on, as this one did, coming right ashore in Fort Myers Beach,
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely wipes out homes, businesses. It's just absolutely devastating. So yeah, and that's 2 in 5 years that have been right through this sort of area.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was one thing my roommate and I were talking about this morning, actually, was it's crazy because I feel like sometimes you'll get, one that'll hit Florida, one that'll hit the Caribbean, one that'll just hit like Texas and Louisiana area, but there's been like none that have gone up into the Gulf, like towards like Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, knock on wood, but it's all hit Florida and like Bahamas and Cuba and Nova Scotia.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So anyhow, everyone's hopefully doing their best to be safe and take the precautions, because those warnings are not issued lightly. So
yeah,
be smart, and the hurricane shutter will go down in a few hours probably. So just to be on the safe side, not expecting a lot, but it doesn't hurt to be safe.
How do you hurricane proof a condo?
Well, in my case, there is a hurricane shutter that is built into the lanai, so I will just lower it, but the windows are not covered with hurricane shuttered. So
interesting.
Yeah. Depends on what you do. Cover all the windows, cover some of them, cover none of them. It's your choice. So yeah, but it will be we'll wait out the storm. But again, I've ridden out a few tropical storms before. Rains like hell, gets windy, and moves along on its way. So like there will be, I don't know, in over 6 hours, 12 hours, 4 inches of rain will come down, no problem.
You'll sleep through it. Hopefully.
Maybe.
Hopefully you don't lose power.
Did I tell you the story of this was a few years ago in California. I was at I think it was the IndyCar finale in Sonoma when they raced there. 4:00 in the morning, I'm sort of stirring and I'm like being woken up and I'm really asleep and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I remembered where I am. It's an earthquake. I don't know, 5.3, something like that. And, it didn't last very long, but like it shook the bed, shook the room, shook me awake. And I sat up and it's like, all right, it stopped. Everything's okay. There's nothing falling off the walls or whatever. I went back to sleep. Everything was fine.
I just remembered that when I was in California this like last March, I didn't get an earthquake. I haven't had an earthquake in like 10 years. I was kind of hoping we would have.
It's very unsettling, but
oh, that's funny. Oh man.
Yeah. So went back to sleep. So what else do we have? The disclaimer.
Yes, the disclaimer.
All thoughts, ideas, opinions, suggestions, and other random, some outrageous, some coherent thoughts are the property of Caitlin and or Todd. They do not necessarily reflect the opinion of NASCAR, Rev TV, TSN, anyone else we may or may not work for at some point in time over the rest of our life, or anyone we have previously worked with during our lives. We absolve everyone.
Yeah. You don't have anything to do with this. You can stop complaining.
I like